Hi all, Irwin here from BCHA, coming at you live. Hope you're all well, but most importantly, I hope you're trying to stay safe. Today's session is based on confidence, and how I want this situation to go this morning is for you to ask as many questions as possible on your level of confidence. So it doesn't matter whether your confidence is really, really low at the moment or particularly high. I want you to ask me any questions pertaining confidence, and hopefully I'll be able to answer your questions. I just want to introduce my technician today, which is Mark Shaw. He's ably helping me this morning. The first question is, what I want to do is just to set a foundation, as I did on the resilience workshop a couple of weeks ago. And the foundation for that was basically the 4 stages to freedom. Now, in the context of what we're talking about today, which is confidence, there are 4 stages that we've all got to get through or go through in order to gain our confidence. Okay, so the first stage is C for comfort zone. So our comfort zone is anything that's comfortable, but comfortably horrid. In other words, it might be comfortable to us, but it's not where we want to be. So in the context of confidence, most people are in the comfort zone with their confidence, even though it might be really low, because they're used to it. It's not where they want to be, it's just because they're used to it. The second stage then for that individual will be the reason stage. I'm really fed up with my having low confidence and I want to do something about it. So they start to reason and think about it. The third stage is they come along to a session like this, and I, or whoever's delivering the workshop, will give them some information which will help them to increase their confidence. And initially, this new information makes that individual feel a bit uncomfortable. Sometimes it's quite terrifying. Now, the situation is, if that individual can really get locked in to the actual information, the new information, it then becomes positively comfortable, and then they move to this stage here, which is called super duper freedom. So there are 4 stages. You've got your comfort zone, your reason stage, the terror barrier, and freedom. Unfortunately, most people never get to freedom in the context of having real increased confidence, and that's because at the point of reason, they listen to 1 or 2 people, they listen to their own negative self-talk. Do you know what, I'll never take this information in, I'll never become confident, and of course then they zoom back into the comfort zone, or they turn to the left or the right to them, and they ask the person to the right or the left, what do you think? And that person will say, well, I tried that and it never worked for me, and again they zoom back into the comfort zone. So I hope that sets the tone for you to realise that there are 4 stages that we've all got to go through in order to get what we want. In the context of confidence, there are 4 stages, but that's great because we understand what we need to do. So it's not a case of getting some information, reading that information and thinking, right, off I go and I'm full of confidence. It doesn't work like that. We have to go through these 4 stages. And if you can understand these 4 stages, which are quite basic, it'll work for you. So, any questions, please ask away. So there are a couple of people watching at the moment, which is great. Good morning to you. Michelle, hi Michelle. Julia Harding, hi Julia. Ask any questions you like. No question is a wasted question. If you're suffering and you're thinking to yourself, right, okay, then in terms of the lockdown, most people are quite comfortable now being in the lockdown, believe it or not, because they're used to it. And it's a case of now getting the confidence to start going out and about and doing things, you know what I mean, a bit more appropriate in terms of not staying in and being in lockdown, but just getting out and about, going to the beach and that kind of thing. Most people are lacking in confidence to do that. So if you are watching and if you've got any questions, please ask the question for anything and I'll hopefully give you the answer. So another question I'd like to ask you is, at this moment in time, what is your confidence levels at this moment in time from 1 to 10? So 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. Where do you sit presently with your confidence level? Is it high or is it low? Hi Alice, hope you well. Okay, there is a concept that I want to show you, and it's called the stickman concept. And most people who I speak to who are initially lacking in confidence think that they were born with that confidence. And when I actually go through a system with them, which is the stickman concept, they realise that they weren't born with it. It was just information that was passed on to them, and they become that situation. So, in the 1930s, there was a chap called Dr. Thurman Fleet, and he was in the concept therapy movement in San Antonio, Texas. He set that up. He was a chiropractor, and he believed that the medical profession, which is still the case today in some respects, were putting too much emphasis on an individual's circumstances. So in other words, they were looking at the symptoms and not the cause. He wanted to look at it holistically, but in order to do this, he needed a clear picture of the mind. And since nobody had seen the mind, he said he would make it up in the form of the stickman. And this is how it works. So he said that our mind is infinitely bigger than our body. So we've got a big mind and a small body. Forgive my drawing. Now there are two parts to our mind. You've got the conscious part, the part that reasons and thinks. And then once we've done all our reasoning and thinking, it goes down to this crucial part here called the subconscious part. Now most of us receive all our information through our sensory factors. We can see, hear, smell, taste and touch. Now these sensory factors are like a sky dish on top of a building or an aerial. In fact, most people think that when they switch the television on, it just miraculously comes on. They don't realise that it comes from a receiving set, just as we get our information. So, I'm going to personalise this. So, when I was growing up, the things that I heard was, you'll never make anything from yourself, Irwin, you'll never do this, you'll never do that. So then, that went down into that subconscious part, and I became a walking, talking replica of that information. So by the time I got into school, I didn't have any confidence. And I actually thought I was born like that. So it was only when I got this information that everything changed. So if at this moment in time you're feeling lacking in confidence and you think that you've always lacked confidence and that's just you, it's not. It's just down to the environment that you were in that decrease your confidence. And if you ask any questions of me this morning, hopefully I can increase that confidence level for you and make you aware that what you are now is not where you're going to be if you take on board this information.
Acacia.
Hi Acacia. Okay, Acacia says how to deal with your inner critic. That's a really good question. I've just purchased a book and it's called how to get about our inner voices. So it's similar to your question there, Acacia, with the inner critic. Lots of times we have lots of conversations with ourselves, and unfortunately most of the conversations that we have with ourselves are quite negative. And a way that I combat the question is, I ask myself, is that a fact? If I'm worried about something, or if I'm worried about someone, or I'm going somewhere and I'm worried about it, that negative self-talk, is that a fact? I ask myself that question, so it's positive self-talk. And just by talking it through to myself, it placates that situation, it makes me feel better, and it gives me the courage then to go and do the things that I need to do. So unfortunately, we've always got that inner critic, and that's the inner critic that we've been raised with in terms of the environment that we're in. But if we can just understand that first and foremost, and then when it comes to us, just acknowledge it, but then just move on from it. Most people get into a conversation, a negative conversation with themselves, and then it just perpetuates the situation and it makes them feel worse. So just acknowledge the inner critic if it's something negative, and then just quickly move on from it.
Alice has a question.
Okay, Alice. Confidence varies depending on what she thinks and does. Yeah, exactly. So, take for example, this morning, I got up this morning and it was a case of, right, I need to do this, the Facebook Live on confidence, and there was a part of me thinking, I hope it's going to go alright. And I realised that if I'd have got suckered into that, I hope it's going to go alright, that would have perpetuated the situation and made me feel worse. in terms of I really don't want to do it. So I acknowledged it, and then I just kept going in terms of doing the actual workshop. So you are right there, Alice, that's a good question.
Alice also asks, can you explain the difference between confidence and self-esteem? Tough one.
Very tough one. Thanks very much for that, Alice. Okay, personally speaking, when somebody is confident, it means that they're able to go and do things in a way where they're feeling good about the situation, they're feeling good about themselves. As far as somebody's self-esteem is concerned, I think the self-esteem is connected with confidence, but obviously the two are slightly the same. But the self-esteem is just someone who's just not feeling good at all. I'll never do it, even though they might have all the tools and techniques to do the thing that they need to do, which will create confidence. The self-esteem, the way they feel emotionally about themselves, stops from doing that. I think that might be, I don't know if that answers your question, Alice, but that's my take on it. So the difference between self-esteem is a feeling of I'll never do it and I'm not going to try because I feel so weighed down by the fact that I can't do it, as opposed to, do you know what, right, I'm going to go and do this. Even though I don't feel like doing it, I'm going to go and do it. That's the confidence. Confidence is believing in yourself and having faith in your abilities. Who was that? Who said that? Is that what you said, Mark? Fantastic. Fantastic. Certainly. Because, as you say, Mark, if you've not got any belief in yourself and your own abilities, then that's going to, your confidence is going to dissipate, so then you're not going to be able to do anything. So if you can do something, and I always think if you can do something that you like doing, that's going to give you confidence. And the more stuff that you do that you like doing, it's going to increase your confidence, and then when you have to do things that you're not so much keen on doing, you've still got that level of confidence to actually go and do the thing that you don't particularly want to do. So again, it's all about, in my opinion, it's being in a situation where you're saying to yourself, okay, this is my life at this moment in time. It's not conducive in terms of where I want to be, but if I can change things, the more I change things, the more confidence I'm going to get, and I'll be able to to express that confidence in everything that I do. Matt, can you just hold that up again, what you just said, because I think it's really key. Confidence is believing in yourself and having faith in your abilities. Yes. But there's not many people who have faith in their abilities though. And that's because of the fact that, in my opinion, they're doing things that they actually don't really want to do. And so as a result of not doing something that they want to do, the job doesn't get done properly, and then the confidence starts to dissipate as well. So again, it's key. But for me, it's also key to understand that if you're lacking in confidence at this moment in time, and as the case you said, if your inner critic is taking over your life, it's something that you can change, but if you're not aware of it, see, most people are unconscious in terms of what they do, in how they do it, and how they go about the day. They're just quite mechanical. They don't actually sit and think, okay, then I need to do this today, I need to do that, I'm thinking about this negative thought, I'm thinking about this positive thought. They just go ahead and do it. So the more conscious we are of our feelings in terms of how we're being and how we're doing, the more we can get away from that inner critic and start to get more confident in terms of doing the things that we want to do. Also, having a vision board increases one's confidence as well. Because I think it was Confucius who said, man or woman who aims at nothing is sure to miss. So if you've not got something to aim for in life, and it could be something small or it could be something big, but if you've not got something to aim for, then your confidence is if your confidence level is quite low, your confidence level is going to stay the same. But if you've got things to aim for and you've got something on a vision board in terms of, you want to improve your weight, you want to, get fit, you want to go on a holiday, you want to get a job, you want to, create a nice living space within the living area that you have. If all that's not on a vision board and you can look at that every morning to give you confidence to think, okay, then yeah, I've got something to get up for this morning, I've got something to do, that's going to give you the confidence. And every time you actually succeed in one of those goals, your confidence increases, and it's tenfold it actually just really, really increases. So to have a vision board is really, really key.
I think, Irwin, that links a little bit to visualization.
Yes.
Could you
yes.
speak a little bit about?
Yes. If there is a saying, man or woman who can actually conceive of something can believe it and it will come true. So whatever we conceive, we can actually achieve it. But most people, because they're not aware of that fact, they don't think of the things that they want to aspire to, so then they can't achieve it. So it's a case of just having a vision of what you want in your life, whether it's a nice spouse, whether it's a good friends, whether it's good health, having a vision of that. And if you can see that vision, then it can come true because you can actually see it. If you can't see it, it's because you're not thinking about it, and as a result it won't happen, it won't manifest. Keep your questions coming, everyone. Affirmations, pre-written or compose your own. I think it's best to compose your own affirmations once you understand what affirmations are about. Affirmations are about affirming something to yourself in terms of what you want and how you see things. It also dovetails in with gratitude as well. But having something that you can affirm to personally, you will gravitate to it more than if somebody actually says, "Can you? Here's an affirmation. You can use my affirmation." I think it's got to be personalised, personally speaking. In terms of my own confidence level, what increases my confidence levels is, again, the more I do things over and over again, because they say repetition is the mother of skill, the more I do some things positively over and over again, that increases my confidence. The less I do things, and then I have to go and do that thing, my confidence is not too great. So it's action. If we take action, then our confidence will increase. Also, dressing well. Now, I'm not saying go out and spend thousands of pounds on a nice outfit, but just dressing well and just looking after yourself, that increases your confidence. So, take for example, in the lockdown, most people haven't been going out, but if you can still get up in the morning, have a nice shower, have a shave, put something nice on, that makes you feel better, so then your confidence increases as well. So, dressing smart and looking after yourself will increase your confidence. But before you can look after yourself and dress smart, you've got to understand where your emotions are coming from, where the negative emotions are coming from, so we can go back to the stick man in terms of why am I not feeling like this. And it's not a case of apportioning blame to anybody, it's just realising that the environment that I was raised in was down to the fact of why I'm the person that I am now, and understanding that and get to the root cause of it, then start to do something about it.
Alice is mentioning the book, The Secret, and the law of attraction, bringing what you want towards you.
Yeah, good question, Alice. It is I like the film more than the book, if I'm quite honest with you, in terms of The Secret. But in terms of the gist of it, I think the more negative stuff we put out into the universe, into everywhere, the more it gets back, because they always say, which is true, negative energy always returns back to its source of origin. So if I'm constantly giving out negative vibes all the time, I'm irritable, I'm irascible, I'm bad-tempered, I'm just moaning and whinging about life and that kind of thing, that's all I'm going to get back. But if I can understand in terms of the lockdown, most people aren't feeling too great about that, but if you accept your situation, if you accept what's going on for you, then you can do something about it. If you don't accept it, you're just going to be in that perpetual state of just thinking negative thoughts about your situation, and all you're going to receive is negative stuff. And people often say to me, well, it's really, really hard for me to think positive thoughts over when everything what's going around me is really negative, and I really understand that. But it's just that thought process of you thinking, yes, my circumstances aren't congenial at the moment, it's not what I want, but if I'm thinking and being mindful of what I want in the future, that will make me feel better, and then that energy will increase, and then I'll reap what I'm putting out. Does that make sense?
Alice has made another comment about how your body posture can contribute to your confidence, the way you hold yourself.
Good question, Alice. Good question. You can always, and Mark, you're an expert on NLP. You can always tell where a person's coming from in terms of the posture. So you're right, Alice. So if a person's, walking upright and they look really confident, then they give off that energy. If a person's slumped and slouched like that, walking around, they're giving off a negative energy. So yes, your posture is very, very important in terms of how you keep yourself. But that posture comes through feeling good about yourself, in terms of how you feel, what you're wearing, and that kind of thing, and it just increases your confidence and makes you feel good.
And I believe different chemicals are released.
Yes, yeah. One of them is called the endorphins that would get released in our system that makes us feel good as well. Serotonin as well, and that all comes from the fact that we're actually doing our bit. So it won't happen just sat in a chair and thinking, right, I want confidence to come all over me and I'll be all right and I'll feel better. We have to do our bit first, and then that will release the chemicals, the positive chemicals, and then that will make us feel better and give us more encouragement to carry on doing the things that we need to do.
Also, Alice has another question. What do you think about fake it till you make it?
Excellent questions, Alice. Brilliant. Fake it till you make it. There's a part of me that subscribes to that concept, and there's a part of me that doesn't. The part of me that does is if a person's in a situation at the moment where they're not feeling too great, but they're thinking that they want to feel great, then by thinking that, they'll start acting it out, and then all of a sudden that will create where they want to be. If a person just sits and thinks, okay, then I want to be a millionaire next week, but they don't do anything in order to become a millionaire, in order to take the steps to do that, then that won't work. And I think it's the first answer I gave in terms of what your question alluded to, Alice. If you can think to yourself, right, okay, then I want to feel really, really healthy, even though I'm not healthy. I'm going to make myself think that I'm healthy, but I'm going to take action with it, then yes, fake it till you make it. But if it's just a situation where, I'm doing alright, and you're not doing anything about being alright, then nothing's going to work, so you're just going to carry on being unwell. Hey, Lynn, how you doing?
Weiling also mentions fake it till you make it. Personally, I prefer act as if. It seems to be kinder.
Act as if?
Act as if you can do something, or you are a certain way.
Yeah. But you can only act like that if you're feeling like that in the first place, can't you? And so if you're feeling like that, so your confidence must be at a certain level that you can feel like that. Yeah.
It just seems a little bit more authentic than faking it.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
That's another thought from me.
Setting goals and achieving them increases confidence. Small but achievable goals. Yeah, I agree, Mark, without a doubt. The key is just small little goals. It could be a case of, right, I'm going to get up this morning and I'm going to tidy the flat, or I'm going to tidy the house, or I'm going to make sure that I eat something healthily today, just one healthy thing, just small goals, and then all of a sudden that momentum builds up, and then you can start building bigger goals. That's the problem actually, Mark. Most people, when they're setting goals, they set them so big that it never happens, and then that makes them feel worse. So then when they come to do it again, the negative self-talk straight away is, well, I never did it the last time, so what makes I think I can do it this time? So yeah, the smaller the goal, the better. Some really good questions being asked, Mark. Excellent. Drop the words I can't replace with I can and I will. Okay, that goes back to positive self-talk. Most people think, if we go back to this 4 stages to freedom, when most people get to the reason stage about changing themselves, so in the context of increasing the confidence, once they get to that reason stage, the negative self-talk sets in, and so one side of them thinks, yeah, I can do it, but then the other side of them thinks, no, I can't do it. But unfortunately, it's the other side which is more powerful than the new side always wins out. And so therefore, it's doing back to the comfort zone. So if an individual can understand that there's going to be a battle initially between the right side and the wrong side, then when they start to think the negative self, as Acacia mentioned earlier on about the inner critic, once that inner critic starts to come in, they can accept that and realise that, okay, then this is part of it, but if I keep going towards the terror barrier, towards the positive information, I'll get to this freedom and my confidence will increase. So yes, I can as opposed to I can't, I will as opposed to I won't. These questions, again, positive mindful questions that you're asking yourself would be much better than the opposite. I can get a job.
I will get a job.
I will get a job.
Another question from Alice. If someone is using negative self-talk, do you recommend that they verbally cancel the negative before replacing it? Does that make sense?
I think, Matt and Alice, once a person's actually said something negative to themselves, if that person isn't conscious of what they've said, it's very difficult for them to stop it and change it. So, as an example, if I think to myself that I will never achieve anything, and if I'm saying that to myself without being conscious that I'm saying it, then I'm not going to be aware that I'm saying it in the first place. I'm just going to carry on saying it, and it's just going to be repetitive, and then everything's going to show up as a result. But if I can catch, as I mentioned, if I can catch a negative thought come in, so take for example, a person could be washing up, and all of a sudden a negative thought comes to them. If that person's conscious, they can think, there's a negative thought here, I can drop it straight away. If that person's not conscious of it, all of a sudden they're washing up and they're thinking of that negative thought and they're not even conscious of it. They stop the washing up, somebody opens up, they open the door for someone, and then all of a sudden that person's saying, why are you looking grumpy, why are you being like that? And that person probably won't be able to tell them why they're feeling like that, because they're not conscious. But in order to be conscious, we've got to be doing the work on ourselves, because that makes us more conscious, and then whenever a negative thought comes our way, we're able to catch it. I hope that makes sense, Alice. Hi Tuesday, how you doing? Throw some questions our way, Tuesday. I know you've got loads of questions, you're very talkative, so fire away. What affects your confidence, Matt?
I was thinking that in any given day, confidence levels can really fluctuate. So it could be that you start the day off feeling pretty good, everything's going fine, and then various things happen during the day to knock your confidence.
Right.
So it might be someone says something to you or something doesn't go very well. So for me, confidence is something that really goes up and down a lot. It's not something that you suddenly get and then you keep hold of.
No.
it's changing all the time.
Yeah.
I think for me, what I found is really good ways of building and maintaining my confidence is through my positive self-talk. As you said earlier, constructing some very effective affirmations.
Yeah.
And what I found really useful is combining those affirmations with visualization. So picturing myself that way, or the way that I want to be.
Right, yeah.
Because I find that my self-talk is either constructive or destructive. It can, if you let it, it can really undermine everything that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I mentioned on the resilience a couple of weeks ago that, you know, life is like that, as you say, Mark, it's up and down. But the more we work on ourselves, when we have a down day, we've got the tools and techniques ready in order to bring us back up. So it's a case of always trying to work on yourself, and oh, that's easier said than done. But the more we try and work on ourselves, the better. Hi Sophia, how you doing? Yeah.
Hi Sophia.
And that's the thing. Most books and talks that I hear are all about how you can be confident in 30 days, you know, and how you can be confident in a week for the rest of your life. And I think, you know, I just think it's a bit wrong, if that's the right word, because as you say, Mark, confidence is something that goes up and down. But the more an individual works on themselves, so if an individual's aware of the fact that one day they're going to be feeling great, and the next day they're probably not going to be feeling too great, and that's not a reflection on them, it's just the way life is. It's just that's just life. But if you can accept that, because it's almost like, I think it was Eckhart Tolle that said, things pass. So one day it might be good, next day not so good. Another day it might be good. So when we have that off day, if we can have that resilience to think tomorrow will be all right, we'll be all right. But if we don't have that resilience and that consciousness to think that I'm having a bad day today, but tomorrow might be better, then that just perpetuates, and the next day gets worse and worse and worse and worse, and then we're in a situation that we can't get out of.
Someone's mentioning about self-sabotage and having to fight the urge to ruin things because they're not confident, and also because they feel undeserving, but they're saying it does get easier with practice.
Yeah, practice, yeah. Repetition is the mother of skill. Self-sabotage, again, whoever that individual is, thanks for sharing that. If you're mindful of that's what you do, and then you do the things that you need to do to not do it, then that will get better. But if you're not mindful of it in terms of this is what I'm like, this is the person most people, I remember when I first started working on myself, a lot of the time when I looked at myself properly, it was a shock. And most people can't take that shock. Wow, am I really like that? But if you can take the shock of who you are and then take on board the learnings that are coming your way with it, things will get better for you. But again, it's just being consciously aware of how you're being and you're doing at that given moment.
Do you think, Owen, could you speak a little bit about the importance of surrounding yourself with positive people?
Yeah, there is a saying that I like, we resemble with those who we assemble. So most people think, well, you know, why am I not connected to the right group that I want to be connected to? And that's because the person that we are at that moment in time has got connections, inner connections with the other person, and that's how we attract the people in our lives. So if we are thinking positive about ourselves more often than not, that's gonna replicate itself on the outside of us, so we're gonna feel more confident, and we're gonna be more happy. So then we're going to attract people who are like-minded, and they're going to be attracted to us. But again, I don't know about you, Mark, but I don't really want to be around people who are just like that all the time. Not because I don't like them, but because it makes me feel like that. So if we can first start with ourselves and start thinking to ourselves, okay, what's going to make me feel better? Okay, if I start working on myself, if I start, looking on the bright side of life, on the inside, then it's going to replicate itself on the outside. So when I am out and about, I'm going to attract the right people in my life. So yeah, birds of a feather flock together. So if you want to be around good people, first start treating yourself well, looking after yourself. Because if you look after yourself, you're going to feel better about yourself on the inside, and then that's going to replicate itself on the outside, and everything conspires like that. As a matter of fact, you'll never see a positive individual with a negative individual. You'll never see that. But you'll always see a positive individual with a positive individual, and a negative individual with a negative individual. That's just the way it goes. So if you want to be around good people, treat yourself well, and then you'll attract good people.
So as much as you can, stick with the winners.
Yeah, stick with the winners, without a doubt.
We all need support to maintain our confidence. So we want to be around constructive people.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Sometimes when a person's not got much confidence, so take for example on the Ignite program, you get people coming in and initially they're not really confident. But once they walk through the door and they see other people in the same situation as them, I can physically, I don't know about you, Matt, but I can physically see those individuals changing, the confidence just increasing a little bit, because it's like, wow, I'm not on my own anymore. And then all of a sudden, 6 weeks later, most people are buzzing because they're thinking, well, this is actually great. And all they've done, they've just taken the step to get over that barrier of doing something for themselves, which is going to make them feel better. And then next thing, they're in an environment with like-minded people.
I think another thing for me that's important in relation to confidence is finding things that you enjoy doing, things that you're good at or can get good at.
Yeah. For many years, I was in a situation where I was just doing things just for the sake of it, whether it's a job, whether it's environment, that kind of thing. And because I was just doing it for the sake of it, it wasn't that great. But when I started to sit down and think about what do I actually want, what do I actually need in life, what do I actually want from it, and then thinking, wow, that's a bit out of my reach at this moment in time, and then to set the goal in terms of, well, that's what I want, that's where I want to be, that's the direction that I want to go in, then you start to think, it's almost like miraculous how things just come into place when you think about something that you really want, and you keep thinking about it, affirmating to yourself and thinking, this is what I want in my life. All of a sudden it starts to show up almost like magic. And it's not so much the magic, it's the energy that you're producing which is attracting that. So if you can start with yourself and start feeling it's all like, yeah, okay, then I don't want to do this, I don't want to be in this environment anymore, whether it's a job, whether it's a business environment, whether it's a romantic environment, I don't want to be in this situation, this is where I want to go. If you can think like that and feel like that, then you'll feel better because you're doing something and you're in a situation that you really like and you really want to be.
I won't say who this is, but this person has said that they're quite a negative person. They try to see things in a positive way, but are often scared of failure. They get stressed out easily, and then they crack jokes to deflect attention.
Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. The problem is, before we can actually increase our confidence, increase our stress, increase our resilience, increase our mindfulness, we've got to get to a point where we actually say to ourselves, do you know what, I really can't help myself. I really can't help myself. And that's where, when I think it was Alice mentioned, fake it till you make it, that's where the negative side of that comes into play. Because when we try to be someone that we're not, eventually, what happens is, we just get exhausted by it. We get exhausted through wearing the mask all the time. So I'm always encouraging people just to be honest about who you are at this moment in time. If you're at rock bottom, fantastic. But if you're at rock bottom, but you're saying that you're not at rock bottom, then you can't get any help. So it's almost like the concept of the alphabet concept that I mentioned not so long ago. So the alphabet concept is something that is in the form of the alphabet. So you've got A, B, C, D. Okay? So letter A comes in the form of a question. So to that individual who's asked that question mark is, how are you doing? Do you suffer? If you lie about that and say, yes, I'm all right, then you can't get any help. But if you say, do you know what, I'm really suffering at this moment in time, I really need some help, I'm sick of trying and pretending that I'm all right, but I'm really not all right, I can then say, why don't you go and speak to B, BCHA? Or why don't you go and speak to C, the Citizens Advice Bureau? But if you'd have lied about that initial question, not to me, but to yourself, pretending that you're all right when you're not, then you can't get the help. So I'm all about an individual having an honesty of purpose about their emotions, their feelings, and where they are at this moment in time, because that's when you can get the help. And with regards to doing something, trying something, and then sabotaging it, that's a natural thing, because if we're comfortable sabotaging things, our life, as I mentioned in the 4 stages, we're always going to revert back to this comfortableness, because it's not where we want to be, but we're comfortable sabotaging stuff. But it's got to get to a point where once you get into this situation where you get some valuable advice on how you can change your life and transform it for the better, and you can stick with this and not revert back to this comfort zone, because it's not where you really want to be, then you'll get to that part and you'll no longer sabotage anything, because you'll think to yourself, what's the point in doing that? I'm not going to put all this hard work in to get where I want to get to and then sabotage it. But as Mark said, it's got to be something that you want to do in the first place, because if it's something that you really want to do, then you'll see it through. If it's just doing something for the sake of it because your friend's doing it or because someone said that you should do it, it's probably not going to have an effect, and probably that's why you're sabotaging a lot of the things that you do. It's got to have some meaning, as far as I'm concerned. The more meaning we have about something, the more we'll follow through with it. And the more our confidence will increase as well. Good question.
The same person has said that they use confidence to speak their mind if something's bothering them. But sometimes they can be too honest and people read the wrong meaning into their communication.
Again, there's nothing wrong with being honest. I think the more honest we can be, first and foremost to ourselves, then we're able to be easily honest with anybody else. And I always say that it's none of our business. If we're sincere and authentic in terms of what our self-talk and what we say to people, it's not a given, even though it might be the right words that we're using and the right expression that we're using, that the other person is not going to take it the right way. Most of the time, most people don't take it the right way because most people don't like the truth. So it's whatever you say, first and foremost, if you know that it's authentic, it's sincere, it's not malicious in any way, but it's the truth, and you speak your truth, then it's none of our business how the other person reacts. It really isn't. We've no control over that. So if you're not feeling too good about a certain situation, and you ruminate with it and you start thinking, okay, what can I say? I know the person I'm going to say this to, and this is how I'm going to say it, and I know they're going to take it the wrong way, and we don't say anything. What happens then? That situation then sits within us, and it makes us feel worse, and it doesn't affect the other person because the other person doesn't know what we're going to say to them, if that makes sense. So I'm always encouraging people to express themselves and say what they really feel. And if you say it authentically, then fine. Hope that answered your question. The more authentic we are in terms of how we are, the more it'll come out like that. And it's not for us to judge anybody in terms of what, you know, they don't like what we say, they don't agree with what they say. That's their problem. We're just getting our feelings out and expressing ourselves, and then our confidence starts to increase and not decrease as a result.
Another comment from Alice. She's saying she's been reflecting on the importance of having a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset. Something about not attempting something due to fear of failure, but trying to reframe that in terms of learning from experiences. And I think that brings up a good point. There's that little kind of tool called the victory log. So if every day, if we can spend a little bit of time at the end of each day and reflect on not the things that didn't go well, but the things that went well, any kind of self-reflection like that really helps to build self-confidence.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So trying to focus more on the things that you've done well, what's right with you, as opposed to what's wrong with you.
Fantastic, man. Yeah. And again, you know, unfortunately, the majority of people think the opposite way. You know, somebody praises someone for doing something good. Most people then will think, oh right, well, I'm not sure. They can't take praise. People can't take praise because they're not used to it. Again, they're comfortable with negative self-talk. They're comfortable with doing negative things, and all of a sudden something happens which is really, really good. They don't focus on the things that's really good. They focus on the negative. So you're right, Alice. I always say that, you know, whatever we do, if it's worth doing, do it. Give it a try. Don't really be focused on whether you're going to succeed in it, because there's always a learning from it anyway. As you say, Alice, there's always a learning from it, always. So long as our intention, and it's all about intention, so long as our intention is positive and authentic, then whatever happens, whether it does, that thing that we're trying to do doesn't work, we'll learn something from it. We will. And that's the key, to keep going. But most importantly, doing the things that we really want to do as opposed to just doing it for the sake of it. Because anything that we do, as I mentioned, we all have to go through those 4 stages. Anything. So the current stage is, I'm lacking in confidence, but you know what? I'm used to it, Irwin. That's the comfort zone for me. Right, why don't you do something about it? That's the reason stage. Here's some information that's going to help you. Well, I'm not sure about that. I don't think I can take that information in, and I don't think I can do that. That's the uncomfortableness. But the more we stick with it, we get positive with it, and then all of a sudden we find ourselves now confident. But we have to go through those 4 stages, in my opinion. It just doesn't happen like that overnight, unfortunately.
So it could be a little bit like a gratitude list, but if you can reflect every day and find 10 things that you did well,
yes,
this is really going to help towards confidence.
Without a doubt. As a matter of fact, Mark and everyone, if you try and start your day in a state of gratitude or gratefulness, or you do your affirmations at the start of the day, that's not to say that you're not going to have a dip through the day, but I always find that if you start the day positively, you can always revert back to it. Most people get up in the morning and they rush to get up, and by the time they get anywhere, they're stressed out. But if you can just take some time out just to gather your thoughts and just be appreciative of what you've got and what's around you, then that'll make you feel a bit better as opposed to doing the opposite. Volunteering to build confidence, okay? If that's the objective, that can work. But again, it all depends on what you're volunteering to do. If you're doing something, if you're just volunteering's sake, you could find yourself volunteering doing something that you really don't like. So that's going to decrease your confidence. So first and foremost, it's always a case of what do I want to volunteer in? You know, what do I like doing? And then go and doing that, and then you'll get your confidence. Most people that I know, they volunteer just for the sake of it, and they don't particularly like it. And then I will say, well, you were volunteering, you asked to do that. Well, I really didn't want to do it. And that's because they didn't take the time out to think about what they wanted to go and volunteer for. So that's the difference between increasing your confidence doing that type of work or decreasing it. build confidence courses? Well, on Ignite we do run a confidence building course. So if you're interested, in doing a 3-hour session, this is just for like an hour, just a bit of an overview on confidence. But if you're interested in doing a 3-hour confidence building course, come on to Ignite. Also, you can go online, and there's lots of courses online at the colleges that can give you that information as well. But I don't think there's anything better than coming on the Ignite program to do your confidence building with Alice.
But I think the point is that any kind of learning that's constructive.
Yeah, and any kind of learning is constructive, will give you the confidence. But again, I must stress that it must be something that you want to do in the first place. Don't just do it for the sake of it. Because if you do it for the sake of it, it won't last very long. It's got to have some meaning for you. And that will increase your confidence to go and do other things as well. Once you do one thing, you can go. See, life is like, as you say, Matt, it's this series of hurdles. Once you get over one hurdle, most people think, great, I've done it. And then you find yourself over another hurdle. But the more you can get over those hurdles, when you look back and you think, wow, if I've gone that far, I can do that. So it's always about keep trying, keep going, and then you build your confidence that way.
I would say, in this situation that we've found ourselves in, that a lot of people's confidence has been eroded simply by not having the social contact. So we've all become quite isolated, so it's going to take us time to adjust back to how life was before all this started to happen. But I really find for myself that confidence partly comes from being around other people and being able to communicate with other people, interact. So my point about going on courses is that that's an ideal place to get to know people, make friends.
Yes.
And that's really going to contribute to your well-being in general and your levels of confidence.
Yeah, I agree. And again, Mark, it's about acknowledging where you're at and what you need. And then having the confidence to go and actually do the things that they're going to increase your confidence. Having that courage, that's the thing.
Sophia's saying she's waiting to hear about some volunteering she's applied for.
Excellent.
Have to follow that up, Sophia.
Definitely.
Weiling saying, instilling the meaning of true confidence in our children from a young age seems imperative in this age of social media. It feels like confidence has different connotations for their generation, when their confidence often depends on the number of likes they get on the social media.
Yeah. Good point. But then again, if just to answer that point, if a parent isn't aware of emotions and how it can affect the children, then the situation is just going to perpetuate, isn't it? So again, it's about that individual putting themselves in a situation where they can look at themselves, warts and all, and think, right, wow, is this me? And now I want to change me. And it's through changing me, I'll be able to change my children. Because obviously, going back to the stick man, the children take the lead off the caregiver or the parent. So it's key that the parent starts to work on themselves in order to pass that right knowledge on to the children, which is a difficult thing in this society. As a matter of fact, it's always been difficult. But it's just a case of just recognising, as you say, recognising that fact and trying to do something about it.
Alice is referring back to the volunteering, saying she loves volunteering. Chance to dip your toe in to see what you like and what you don't. Less pressure, time to build up confidence.
And that's the key, Alice. You know, to find out what you don't like or what you do like. If you're going in with that mentality, then great. But if you're going in with the mentality thinking, right, okay, I'm going to do some volunteering and that's going to increase my confidence, it might not do. And as a result, it might stop you from doing that in the future. But if you're going in with that mindset, well, it might work or it might not, I'm just going to go and test it out and see what the situation is, then you'll be fine. How are you going to know what you like until you find out what you don't like?
So I'll definitely get back to you about the volunteering and see if I can help you with that.
Okay, we're just about to finish now. Thank you for your comments and your questions. Been really good, really appreciate it. Next week we're doing wildlife conservation, and that's going to be coming from the allotment with Miles, so tune into that. If you've got any questions in terms of you forgot about the question that you wanted to ask, feel free to send us an email or put it on Facebook and we'll answer that question as and when we've received it. But thank you very much for joining us today, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.
Thank you everybody for joining us. Oh, final point from Alice. Social media can really make people feel bad because we place importance on the wrong things.
Yes, that's a good point, Alice.
So, final word really. Remember that confidence is about trusting yourself.
Yeah.
Believing in your abilities.
Believing in your abilities, trusting yourself. But you can only trust in yourself and believe in yourself until you get to a point where you say, okay, this is my life at this moment in time. It's not where I want to be. Now I want to change it. And take on board what information you get. You might feel a bit uncomfortable with that information because you're not used to it. But if you can work with that information, you'll gradually see your confidence increase and increase. And then you'll be at the stage where you want to do the things that you need to do.
Okay. Thanks, Irwin.
Bye for now.
Bye, everybody. Take care. Have a really good day and be confident.